Mick, second season in a row you've arrived at the last day with the playoffs beckoning or possible. What are your thoughts on the season as a whole?
Well, we're at the playoff stage, but it's not in our hands this year like it was last, and we had to go to Leicester and win what we did. We've got to win this game against Plymouth, but then rely on others. A bit of a mixed bag. We've delighted people and frustrated people, and I think it's our inconsistency that's left us at this position where, I don't believe in looking back, especially now at this moment. I've been asked the question today, what ifs? If you start doing that, you become very negative, you never move forward. But I guess if we looked at it, sat having a beer on a beach in the summer and on holiday, we've had missed opportunities. I can't honestly say, and we were at the club dinner last night and I said to the guys on the table, I asked them, I said, can you tell me how many times you've come away from a game and thought, we were lucky today. We didn't have it off today, we were fortunate. And I didn't get too many answers, and I gave them one. I said, Blackpool at home. Oh, I thought they murdered us, and they missed a chance to make it 2-0, and of course we consequently won the game 2-1. I can't remember any others. I really can't. So I don't think we've had I'm not going to say we're unlucky, but we've not had that slice of luck. They think we've had penalties and against us, and sometimes not given. And yet, I just admire the lads so much because they really worked hard, put the shift in, and just kept going. And it looked for a while where we were going to miss out completely. We may still do, but you never know. We're still in it on the last day.
It was a momentous summer for the club with Sir Jack retreating after 17 or 18 years, Steve Morgan coming in. How has that changed your sort of working life?
Well, it hasn't on a daily basis. It hasn't changed my working life, but I have more contact with Steve. Myself, Jez and Steve have a good working relationship. We sit down and discuss all aspects of the club, certainly from the football side of it, because that's what I'm involved in. And they have their input. We sit down and make decisions. They back my decisions, which is great, But we sit down and discuss it collectively. So Steve's got more of an input into it than Sir Jack ever did, and ultimately it will be good for the club because he's driving it and he's very ambitious for the club. But I think the start of this season, I think we're all a bit wrapped up in the fact that Steve had took over, we bought a few players, and suddenly we're just going to be, hurrah, Wolves are getting up. And I think a bit naively we all get wrapped up in it, and it's not been just as easy as perhaps some people thought it was going to be. But I think Steve takes the view. He wants to be in the Premiership as quickly as possible, but he also takes the long-term view that it is a building process. And I think we've got a very good young side on our hands.
What have been the main differences for you, Mick, as a second-season Wolves manager?
I think expectancy from supporters, really. The expectancy when I got the job nearly 2 years ago was we were going to get relegated. You were at the press conference. I think you maybe asked me the question. That is what people said to me. And I thought that was ridiculous, and proved that to be the case by getting into the playoffs. Didn't have to make a rod for my own back there, didn't I? And everybody else. And I mean, there's a sense that we've underachieved this year, and I don't know, maybe we overachieved last year. We've missed opportunities this season. Games I could think about now when we should have won the game. We had enough chances to win the game. But then, every other club will be saying the same. And overall, we've done our level best. I wouldn't have done it any differently. Wouldn't have made different decisions. And what I love about the lads is that they work their socks off week in, week out and never give anything less than 100%.
You've been allowed to recruit quite extensively. Are you happy with all the signings, and are you pleased with the impact they've made by and large?
Some better than others, but that's always the case. Whether you pay 2 bob or 2 million, there'll be some will have a better impact than others. Why is that? Is it down to them? Is it down to me? Is it down to the way we play? Is it a whole load of things? Do they fit into a system? There's a lot of whys and wherefores on that, but some have been really big successes, others not so good. But I think that's the way in football anyway. You just hope that you get more right than wrong, and I think I'm in the profit margin at the minute.
The season started quite brightly despite a defeat to Watford on the opening day. Was any of those victories what you saw as a catalyst to a reasonably bright autumn?
The game against Watford was, I thought we played very well in that game, and a free kick given against us and a deflected free kick into the top corner, and then a penalty given away, which it was a penalty, no question. But that's been indicative of our season. I mean, a deflected free kick, and it was. I don't think it's going anywhere, and spoons into the top corner. And then I thought we recovered well after that and settled down, and then we got to Christmas and we went to Barnsley and lost and had a real bad spell. But that seemed to come immediately after us drawing at West Brom, playing really well, matching them certainly punch for punch on the pitch, and trading punches with it. They are the best team in the league, don't doubt that, and we looked more of an equal to them. And then we lost Kites, and then we lost Jody. Breeny was out for 3 or 4 months. Didn't help us, and we had a bit of a slump. And in recent weeks, we've recovered, and well, hopefully it'll be in time to get in the playoffs.
One of the downsides early on was the defeat against Morecambe in the cup. Was that a big deal? Was it a wake-up call? Was it easier to dismiss with it being a cup competition?
No, not really. I wanted to win it, and you can talk about the side I played. If those players who played in that game are meant to be footballers here at Wolverhampton Wanderers, then we had enough on the pitch to beat them. Really disappointed we're getting beaten by them. I thought they played well, Morecambe, but it shouldn't happen. Not with the team that we had out on the night. It was a really poor result.
Bristol City came out flying, Mick. Do you feel the Championship, how do you feel it compares to the Championship we saw 12 months ago?
I think it's much the same. There's nobody run away with it. I thought Bristol City, they've had a fantastic year. Looked like they were going to be in the top 2. Everybody tipped them to drop out and to tail off and not get in the playoffs even, but they are in the playoffs. I think Gary Johnson's done a remarkable job. And that, even that is I look back at when we played them here for 35 minutes, and if we'd have been 4 up, they wouldn't have argued. They ended up drawing 1-1, and probably was hanging on at the end. They've done remarkably well and overachieved. I think, done better than anybody would have expected.
You seem very well poised in November. You got the draw at the Hawthorns after a couple of around the time a couple of home wins against Preston and Colchester. December turned a little bit tougher for you. Then first half of January was disappointing. You were in quite a rut at that time.
Yeah, did we go 9 games without winning, I think, and I never thought that would have been possible with a team of mine in this league. I didn't think it would happen. I don't have the answer to it now. If I'd have had it then, I'd have stopped it, wouldn't I? But we just couldn't get a win to get any momentum back. And it was a difficult time, that.
I guess the low point then was the defeat against Palace, where you played reasonably well, threatened 2 or 3 goals, but conceded 3, and on the face of it, looked well beaten.
3-0 looks comprehensive, doesn't it? But I don't think it tells the true story. We played really well in that game, and really came away another game wondering how it had happened. I know Clinton Morrison got a good goal. I mean, it kind of summed us up when Scowcroft, that ball drops to him 30 yards out and he absolutely lashes it in the top corner. It was almost the point we think, well, we couldn't do anything about it at all. But we recovered after that, and anyway, we did get some sort of revenge down there when we beat them.
And you went to Scunthorpe straight after the home defeat against Palace. Got a good win, a couple of new signings on board, David Edwards and Sylvain Ebanks-Blake, and clearly that has proved to be a turning point. Yeah,
well, I think our lack of goals has been a real problem. If you look at the league, the stats, Dave Edwards certainly started with a bang and scored, and Sylvain Ebanks-Blake he's been terrific since coming here, and of course scored that day as well. It made a big difference to us, just getting the goals.
Notwithstanding what might happen on Sunday, would you regard that game at Scunthorpe as being possibly the most important victory of the season?
It was important because the way the season was going at that point, and there was the usual talk of the manager's position, and from being everybody's pal, I was suddenly a lot of people's enemy, and that's the way it is with football. And of course, it was an important win because when we look at it and Scunthorpe are getting relegated, have been relegated, it's a game that if we want to be promoted, we should win. And we did. And we won it, I thought, comprehensively. We could have beaten them by more. So it was an important game, and it certainly was an important victory for all of us.
You've had a number of good away victories. Have at times you felt more comfortable on the road than playing at Molineux? I
think if you look at the league, you'll find a lot of the teams have really done well away from home and not done so well at home, and I do think it's expectancy. It's when we went to play at Charlton and we beat them, Alan Pardew had watched us against somebody prior to that, and he said you just played with so much more freedom away from home than you did at home. And of course, I would have said the opposite about Charlton. I've seen them away, and then I'd also seen them at home, and they really did struggled to get to terms with the game and felt quite stifled. And it was against West Brom, and West Brom played quite free and open attacking football, and yet I don't know why it is. It used to be that your home was your fortress and that's where you got all your points. For some reason this season it's been quite the opposite. If you look at Watford's results, they've not taken as many points, some stat that was thrown up, they've not taken as many points at home as Sheffield Wednesday, I think it was, and not scored as many goals at home as Colchester have. Now, how does that work out? So it's been tough for all of us this season for some reason, and I don't know why.
Just on one or two individuals, Mick, how pleased have you been with Carl Henry as a captain?
Well, as the captain, he's been standing in for when Breeny's not been playing. He's been outstanding. As a player, as a professional, as an individual, he's been first class. And his goal against Charlton epitomised him. All action, non-stop, goes to the very last minute, beyond the last minute. And I think he's been appreciated more. It just shows you when you leave a place, or you're out for some reason, people appreciate what you do far more. And I think that's been the case with Carl. He's been a big player for us.
And your goalkeeper, I don't think anybody said a bad word about him. He's been fantastic, hasn't he, from the day he came into the team in the playoffs last season?
I don't think I should be giving him any more plaudits. I don't know if there's any more awards he can win this week. He was in the PFA Team of the Year, the League Team of the Year. He was the Players' Player of the Year here. He was the Supporters' Player of the Year here. There was some other award he got, I think, this morning as well, some other accolade. So I can't really add to that. I just say he's been brilliant. He's a great guy as well. Real pleasure to work with.
It just mirrors where Matt was at this same stage of last season. Obviously, his pain has been Wayne's gain.
Yeah, well, I think there was more than a suggestion that I should have signed another goalkeeper in the last season because we were losing Matt Murray, and Matt had been so instrumental in our bit of success we had last season. And I was adamant I wasn't going to do that because I thought we'd got a top-class keeper. And that's proved to be the case. And now all people say to me is, there'll be some dilemma if when Matt comes back, that'll be a tough decision. Well, bring it on. Just it'd be nice to have two keepers of that quality around the place.
And your main strike pair at the moment, Keogh and Ebanks Blake, how excited about those are you as a partnership?
Very excited about it because they both bring different qualities to the game, certainly. I mean, Andy's chipped in with his goals, but it's his movement, his ability to drag people out of position, to run in channels, to set goals up for people, has been a real plus for the side. And I guess to his own detriment, his selfless running and selfless movement, running in channels, means he don't get as many goals as perhaps he should. But he certainly chipped in with them this season. But I tell you what, Silva must love playing with him because he does drag people about and he leaves gaps for him, sets things up for him, crosses for him. And I think they've enjoyed playing with one another. And as a partnership, they look a good partnership.
You've been without Michael Keightley for big chunks of the season, recognised as one of your most influential and talented players. Is there anybody else you'd like to single out, you think should be singled out for praise for the overall effort?
It's for effort, every single one of them get a mention from me because there's none of them that you know, if they don't put the shift in, they don't play, and you know, they all graft. I won't have it any other way. I think there's been a lot of talk about the senior players around the place. Sorry, the younger players around the place. The senior players have been excellent. You know, Gary Breen, Jody Craddock, Mickey Gray, certainly playing in a more forward position since we've got George Ellacobi. That's kind of released him, and he's been terrific. And I better give Stacky a mention because having talked to Bobby Mims up yesterday for his coaching on the goalkeepers, I think was fully justified. Stacky's been great in terms of support for the first team keeper. He's been brilliant and helped them, and really I think he's certainly helped to bring Wayne out of his shell and help him to be, I don't know, maybe a lighter side of the game and mature a bit, and he's helped him just being that more experienced body around him. So, you know, one or two deserve credit for things that don't really get seen around the place and don't get recognised, don't get noticed. The personality that they bring to the place. It's been, he's been great. Mickey Gray's been great for that reason as well.
How would you describe the style of football you have brought into Wolves and presumably you want to carry on implementing?
Good passing football. Try to play it simple and trying to play it quick and try to get forward. You know, there's some suggestion early on that we just bash it up to the front, and I find that unbelievable. But I think if you looked at the stats, we'd be, well, I'll tell you, we're behind West Brom. We're the best footballing team in the division in terms of passing it, successful passes. And that's how I like to play, and I'll continue to try and do that.
That leads me into the question of what your plans are for developing the team next season, whichever division Wolves are in.
Well, I'm sat here on Friday before we play Plymouth, so there's quite a few scenarios that could happen, but we're kind of on the case and looking at them and see where we would go if we're in the playoffs, if we're in the playoffs and lose, if we're in the playoffs and win, or if we're not in the playoffs. So we just have to wait and see.
And how are you preparing the lads for Sunday's game? Anything different?
No, not at all. No, not at all. And I think that would be wrong. You know, you end up putting the emphasis on the game and making it more important than it is. And reality is, we're playing Plymouth. We can't do anything about anybody else's results. So I think it's paramount that we concentrate on what we're doing and not do anything different and change it. Because players are very perceptive. They soon get a sense that am I getting nervous, uptight, changing things, doing things differently because it's a big game. I think they like to have the routines, and we'll prepare exactly the same.
And finally, nearly 2 years into your reign, do you have a message for the fans?
About my 2 years into the reign, I get a little bit uncomfortable with messages to fans, because I think what you see with me is what you get, and I do my job. I come in here, I skip in here every morning. I love coming in, I enjoy it, and every one of us in the football club, from myself up or down, works our socks off to make it a successful club, and I think to make it a nice environment that everybody wants to come and work and train in. And that's all I ever do, and I'll always give my best, and you know, that's what we'll continue to do. We'll do that on Sunday. Fingers crossed that we're in the playoffs. If we get in them, I think we'll win them. You know, it's easy to say that, because we're not in them, but I'll have to stand up to that if we get in them. But I do believe that, because I think we've been playing well. If we don't get in them, I would say trust in the players and the team, and we've got good young players, and support them and back them, and I think they'll bear fruit, this team. They're good players.